10 goals for spring cleaning today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. We are going to give you 10 things to do, 10 goals to set for your spring cleaning efforts. And we're bringing back one of our new favorite guests, Maria Gracia. How are you doing today?
I am doing so great, especially that the weather's warm and the snow is melting. Spring is in the air. I'm happy.
Yeah, now we're up here in Minnesota. Where are you located at?
We are actually in Wisconsin, so we're neighbors, but it just has, after those 20-degree days, 45, 50 degrees feels great to me.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah, my daughter it actually got cold yesterday. I think it was like 32, and she's like going outside in a t-shirt. I go, seriously? Come on. It's not that warm, but it's supposed to be really nice coming up here. But we're not going to talk. We really don't talk about the weather on this program because people watch this, all year long. So although we are topical today on spring cleaning, because, we are on the doorstep of spring. And so you have 10 kind of goals or tips, or what's your list all about?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of spring cleaning as this major thing that needs to be done. Like there's a million things to do, not enough time to do it. So I kind of, I do have people make lists, and we have spring cleaning checklist available and all that kind of stuff with hundreds of things on it. But I kind of like to have 10 goals for spring. And if I focus myself just on those 10 goals, and even if they kind of get into summer a little bit, it's okay. At least I know that those 10 goals are going to get accomplished.
Now, as long as those 10 goals don't have to be done in one weekend, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We kind of spread. We might do a little before spring hits. We do a whole bunch during spring and maybe a little bit into summer as well. So we kind of pick a goal to handle. That goal may take us a weekend or two, depending on how big the goal is. And not until that's done do we pick our next goal on the list. So if we get 8 done, great. If we get all 10 done, even better.
Great. Okay. Well, now we're going to present the 10. Are they in any particular order of importance, or are they just 10? If you can get as many of these 10 done, you're going to be doing good.
I kind of, I make my list, and my list may originally include more than 10, and then I kind of cross out those of least importance. And then, I kind of look at my family and see what we kind of want to get done and at what time. Sometimes if my daughter asks for something, she will pester me all spring long until it's done. So sometimes it's better to move that task to the beginning of the list. My husband and I, of course, come second to her most of the time. So.
I have 4 girls, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I never get my stuff done. Come on. Oh, so okay. Well, let's start with number 10. We don't want to go on all day here. We actually want to get out and do some cleaning. But what's your first goal for spring cleaning?
Yeah, so my first goal this year is to get some painting done. Okay. We don't do painting every year, and it's kind of, my daughter came to me and she's like, oh, can I paint my room? And of course, her room is the one that's painted the most in, out of all the rooms in the house. So her room, you could probably peel the layers off one by one. But yeah, she wants to do her room white now with the turquoise wall, and she's all excited about it. So we're going to get her room done. And then, of course, when she mentioned that to me, I started thinking, and I'm like, well, maybe we'll do the bedroom too. So, my husband's really excited about that. And but that is one of our goals for spring, and it's the first thing we're going to tackle. And the reason we're tackling that right now is because my daughter really wants to do it. And also because I kind of want to open my windows and let spring in. And painting is the perfect reason to do that. I don't like, paint smell in the house.
Yes.
It'll be fresh and pretty. And also it helps us clean the rooms out.
Yeah.
As well.
It's funny. My daughter asked the same thing, but she asked in the middle of winter. And I said, well, let's wait till spring,
Yeah.
Put that one off, yeah, you definitely want. Is there anything like in preparing, and I think it's a good tip just to do a couple rooms as long as you got all the equipment out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do you kind of prepare for painting? Do you have any little tips on that?
Yeah, I do. The one thing that we do, I don't like moving all of the furniture out of the room because some of the furniture is just very, very heavy. So what we'll do is we'll kind of put a lot of the stuff on one side of the room while we're painting the other side. And the way that we do that is we put sliders under the furniture, which makes them extremely easy to move. They're just these little discs that you can get from any home, Menards or Home Depot or anything like that. Slip them under the furniture and they slide right across the floor, no matter how heavy the furniture is. So I love that. And the other thing we do when we're painting is we will take a little bit of the paint when we're done, instead of keeping it all in the big can, and we might put it in like a baby food jar or something, cover it really tight. There's always a touch up or two that needs to be done after the furniture kind of starts getting moved back. Something hits the wall a little bit, or, maybe one of the picture holes isn't quite covered or whatnot. So instead of having to get that whole gallon of paint out, we'll just grab the little baby jar, do the little touch up, and we're done.
Well, that is a phenomenal idea, because usually too you get your first ding in the wall when you're moving the furniture back, right? So it's like, oh, we just got this painted. Now it's just scratching there. All right, let's go on to number 9. Or I guess, are we going backwards or forward? That would be number 1. Do you want to go backwards or forwards? I don't know how you have your list.
Well, I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Okay.
like that.
Right.
So just go to
was that number 1 or was that number 10?
That was number 1. That's the first thing we're doing this year.
All right, good. All right, so let's go down to number 2 then.
Yep. Okay, so number 2 is I want to get the windows washed. After winter and little kid fingerprints and pet spit, whatnot on the glass, I just want that cleaned, and I want to be able to see all of the trees in bloom and everything else. So normally in the past, my husband and I have gone around the house and we've cleaned all the windows ourselves, and it is a job. We have windows everywhere. This year, and even last year, we decided to hire a professional to do it. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I think people think that that's an expensive thing to do. It honestly only cost us a couple of $100. It's a father-son team, so it's a tiny, little small business. We're helping out the community by doing it, I feel. And they come in, they do all of our windows inside and out while I'm sitting here working. Right. So I think it's a great time saver, and we can do that. Now, of course, for anybody who can't afford that, I definitely suggest using a squeegee and some cleaner specifically designed for windows. So you end up with no streaks, and who knows, maybe you can do one room's windows every weekend, and by the end of spring, your whole house can be done.
Now, my wife does that routine where she says, okay, we're just going to do like 7 windows. Yep. But she does that as a con job to get me started. And then by like 10 hours later, we're just exhausted, but we've done the whole house, so.
Right. And once it's done, it feels so good, doesn't it? Well, right. Whatever works. Yeah. Whatever works for you to get the job done.
All right. Well, I think windows, that would probably be our number 1. We do those all the time, but sure. Let's move on to number 3.
Sure. Okay. So number 3, and I'm just glancing down at my list, because of course I have these all written down. I'm not trying to keep them in my head. We want to get the rugs cleaned. So, we try to be really good during the winter coming into our house about taking our shoes off. And if we have a guest, taking shoes off, but it just, in reality, doesn't really happen all the time. You're carrying groceries, you're not going to be taking your shoes off. So you get that gravel in the house, you get that salt in the house. And we also have a pet bunny, and it's shedding season, and his fur is everywhere. It's white fur everywhere. So I really desperately want to get the rugs cleaned. And we're debating right now whether we're going to do it ourselves or do it professionally. But we're going to do some spot cleaning first, just to get, any noticeable winter dirt grime up. And then we're going to steam clean the rugs and get those all fresh, and the dust mites gone and everything else. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing too, just something like getting that job done can actually make the whole room feel and smell a lot better too.
Yes, definitely. I love that fresh smell, and I am so itching to do that. That almost landed as the first job in the house, but then I was like, well, what if we get paint on the rug? So.
Well, you also want to wait till the snow is gone and the major wet. So maybe that one comes just a little bit later in the sequence. Absolutely. All right. How about number 4?
Okay, so number 4, I have launder the heavy bedding. So, on all the beds in the house, the guest bed, the master bed, kid bed, we have duvets and duvet covers and blankets, comforters, all the heavy stuff. And I want to put that stuff away for the spring, but I don't want to put it away unlaundered, because then when fall rolls around, I'm going to have a huge job to do, and I just prefer it's put away clean just to begin with. So instead of trying to stuff all of that stuff in my own washing machine at home, which I might be able to do, but it's going to take hours and hours and hours of different wash cycles. What I normally like to do is I go over to the laundromat, and I use 3 or 4 washers at a time and get everything done in the nice big washers. I feel like they get a lot cleaner. And what I do is I never go over there alone, because my laundromat has a coffee shop right next door. Nice. And I'll go over either with my husband or my daughter or a friend of mine. And while everything's being washed and dried, just kind of sit and catch up and have some coffee. And chit chat. So I just think it's kind of like a dual purpose, and it makes washing more fun to do on my list.
Right. And it's not, that's only a couple hours too. And I think if you know that you're using multiple machines, that really helps consolidate the time. You don't need like, 10 hours to do that. You need like 2 or 3, but then you can get all of it done at one time.
Exactly. And sometimes I feel that if your washing machine is too stuffed with things, that the item's really not getting clean. So I think it is important that you use the largest washer dryers that you can to circulate that water and detergent.
All right. How about number 5? Halfway there.
Yeah. Okay. So number 5 is we have a big clothing weed out day in my house. And we actually schedule a day to do this, because if we try to say, oh, I'll just, put stuff aside when I'm not using it, it just never happens. So I give myself, my husband, my daughter a large 30-gallon, one of those really big black or green trash bags, clean, and give it to them and have them go through their clothes, their outerwear, shoes, accessories, anything that doesn't fit, I don't want to wear it anymore, it's out of style, kind of goes into that bag. Sometimes it requires a little trying on. I'm not sure if it fits. Okay, well, let's take this hour. Let's try everything on. Anything we're going to give away goes in that bag, and then we just donate it. So we're giving back to the community. We're emptying out our closets. We're making room for things that we are going to wear, as most people only wear 20% of what's sitting in their closets.
Right.
So we try to get it to the point where we have 100% of what is in our closets is being worn, and we feel good about wearing those items.
Now, do you pull everything out and like throw it on the bed and then clean the closet first before you put everything back in and kind of make it a dual project, or you just focus on getting the clothes out?
We don't do that every single year, because sometimes that turns out to be a huge to-do. We try to keep the closet fairly clean on a regular basis, but certainly if you haven't done that in a while, I think that's a great idea. That might seem like a huge job to some people, so maybe just clearing out a section of the closet, one clothing rod, one shelf, at a time, until the job is done. Any clothes on the floor being picked up, and maybe changing out the hangers so all the hangers are exactly the same. It kind of gives the closet a more consistent look.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're halfway through our list, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get the other 5 of the 10 spring cleaning goals with Maria Gracia here, and we'll be right back. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about the 10 goals for spring cleaning. These are 10 goals that Maria Gracia, our guest from Get Organized Now, has come up with. And I know you have a checklist on your website. You have all kinds of resources on your website for people that need lists or advice on how to do things. So we've been talking about these 10 goals and taking them, maybe not all in one weekend, but a little bit at a time over the course of entering into spring. So I think we're on number 6 now.
We are at number 6. Okay, so my number 6 tip is to kind of think safety around your house. I think safety is something we don't always think about, but it's a really good idea when the first day of spring hits to do a few things. One is to check that the batteries in your smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector are in good working condition. Change them out. It's a good time to change them out, spring and fall. Another thing is to check your fire extinguisher, and hopefully you have 1 or 2 in your house at least that are near the kitchen, because you just absolutely never know. Fire extinguishers last about 5 to 15 years or so, and there's like a little green indicator on the newer models, so you can see if yours is still good or not. And on the older models, you might want to get it professionally inspected, but must have for every single house a working fire extinguisher. And it's also a good idea, I think, to go through any fire evacuation plans that you may have with your family to make sure everybody knows where to go. It's, if you went over this 3 years ago, there's no way people are going to remember what the plan was. So it's a good idea to review that, kind of go over that. And finally, we're going to go through our list of emergency numbers that we keep on the refrigerator. In case of emergency, call this neighbor. My neighbors last year that I have on my emergency list have since moved. So all of them, my 3 neighbors, they all need to be switched. And even with companies that hold your emergency numbers, or schools, like our alarm company, I had to switch those emergency numbers. So I think it's a really good idea to go through some safety inspections in your own house.
Now, do you take, for example, for safety day, do you actually schedule that in advance? You kind of put some of these things on a calendar, or?
We do.
Okay.
We put everything on the calendar, but what we normally do is my daughter's usually home, on a Saturday or a Sunday
Okay.
because the other day she's in school. So I like to schedule it for a weekend.
Okay.
So we might say, okay, it's Saturday morning. We're going to do something on our list. We'll pull the thing from our list. We'll do the thing. And then we usually try to go out and do something fun. We might go for a drive or go out for some ice cream or something. So it doesn't seem like a complete chore day. It's kind of like, let's do this task and then let's go have fun as a family.
Yeah, bribes work really well with kids.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to number 7.
Okay, so number 7 is to rotate my seasonal tools in the garage. And, this involves my husband and I working together, but we will take our shovel and salt and any winter gear. And we actually have a staircase that we can pull down in our garage that leads us to the upper level. It's kind of like a pitched roof up there.
Yep.
But we store all our winter stuff away. And then we will kind of bring all of our spring stuff down, our gardening tools and summer equipment, that we use outside, anything like that. Which is nice to have if you have the opportunity and you have the storage space to kind of switch them out, because you might think, oh, I can just leave like all the winter stuff where it is and all the spring stuff where it is. And by the end of spring and summer, the garage is just packed full.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice if you have the space to separate that stuff, and it helps to keep it a little cleaner too. So maybe, put an organizer on the side for your tools, maybe put a rack up for any bikes that are taking up space on the floor. Check while you're at it, maybe any paint that's gotten old or any old chemicals that need to be properly disposed of, and that. So garage, stuff takes a while. It probably takes us a good 3 weekends, not full day, but a good 3 weekends at a few hours at a time to kind of get that cleaned up.
Well, and I'm glad to hear you guys do it together as a family.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, number 8.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. So we're going to power wash and stain our deck. So we have this huge deck, which, when we first moved in, we were like, oh, let's get one of those composites. And then we decided not to. And now we're wishing we got one of those composites that never needs any maintenance. But we have the nice cedar wood deck, and we have a ranch, and it spreads like way across the back of our house. And we don't do this every year, but every 3 years or so, it needs to be power washed and stained. So we're going to actually do this job ourselves this year, because the other home improvements that we want to do, those that budget's going towards those things. So my husband and I are stuck this year, but we're going to rent a power washer and do that one weekend, and check the weather forecast, of course, for treating and staining the deck. And we're going to get out there, and we are going to hopefully use a big broom type attachment to do the surface, and we're going to hand paint all the spindles. So
well, it always feels good to have that done too. I mean, that's one of the great. We do that occasionally on every few years, and after you're done, it's like, oh, that looks so nice. Then you want to sit out there.
It is, and I love being out there in the spring. Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do. So if you really love outdoors, it's a good task to get done.
All right, now we're up to number 8.
Okay, so we are doing. Let's see. Are we up to 8 or are we?
Or is it 9? Or is it?
Okay, good. Okay, so so a few years back, we have this nice deck, and we love to eat outside, but we do not love swatting at bees and wasps and flies and such while we're eating. So one year my husband came up with the idea, well, let's get one of those sunsetter awnings, which will provide us with some shade back there. And we can also buy the accessories, which is like the floor mat and the screens that go on the side. Mm-hmm. So now we kind of have a screened in, we kind of put it away in the winter. It's retractable, but we pull that out in the spring, put the screens up, and we have a nice place to eat without the the bugs. So, he will get that all up. That's a huge project. He may either call me outside or get one of his buddies from down the block to help. Hopefully that's the case and I can go shopping or something. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but then we'll bring all the our patio. We have like a outdoor dining table and some chairs. We'll bring those into the screen room, and then I'll give them a good scrubbing down so they're nice and clean for eating in the summer.
I feel like we're progressing from the inside of the house to the outside now, where we all really want to be in the spring and summer. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right, our final tip now, our final goal.
So my final goal is kind of a more personal goal than a household goal, and I try to do one goal just for me. And this time of year, I really like to spring clean my schedule. So I kind of take a really, I go outside, I sit on my deck, bring some lemonade out, and really take a good hard look at my schedule and all of the activities I'm involved in, all of the volunteer stuff, all of my to-dos. I might eliminate stuff that doesn't make sense to me anymore. I may streamline some things that I feel like are just taking too long, maybe do some automation if something's taking me too long to do. And I may add some new stuff. There might be some stuff I've been meaning to do, and it's like, oh, it's spring. Let's do something new. Let's get that out on the schedule. So really important to have that me time, not to always think of spring cleaning as things that need to be done in the house, but it's kind of do things, for yourself, your inner self as well.
Yes. And so, and then after you do that, all that for yourself, do you give yourself a reward?
Honestly,
or is it a reward itself? Yeah.
No, well, it is a reward in itself, but honestly, every single thing I do, and I don't care how small it is, I do give myself a reward. This gets me through the day.
That's great. Well, listen, we're just about out of time. Let's talk about your website, what it has to offer for people and how they get a hold of you.
Yeah. Okay. So my website is getorganizednow.com.
Okay.
When you come to my website, I have a free treasure chest, tons and tons of tips, and my newsletter that you can sign up for, videos, everything. And then on the website itself, you can come back to it as often as you like. We have checklists and challenges, tips, recipes, tons and tons of stuff, and all of our social media channels as well. So
that's great. Well, we invite people to go there. Getorganizednow.com, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Maria, thanks again. As usual, we'll have you back maybe for fall or something, to get ready for fall. But I kind of feel like now I'm ready for spring and summer as long as I get a few of these things done.
Well, good. I'm glad you're excited. We have to keep that momentum going.
That's right. Momentum is the key, folks. You heard it right here. So get a few of these goals done, and we'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized. All right.